All right, guys. So on this week's Digital Nomad Visa review, I wanted to focus on South Korea. Now, normally I'd like to kind of bounce around the globe into different locations, and last week we did Japan, but the South Korean Digital Nomad Visa is also very new. It came out at the beginning of 2024. And I feel like if you are a little disappointed with the only 6 month offering of the Japanese digital visa, it might be worth considering South Korea's. Granted, it's not a direct comparison. The two countries are definitely not the same thing, but it's probably the closest alternative, if that's okay. But either way, I wanted to go over. What it is, some of the features, some of the things you have to do, and go from there. Number one, there's the financial requirement for to qualify for the South Korea Digital Nomad Visa. You have to have an income of at least 85 million won, which is around the equivalent of $64,000 annually. Again, based on exchange rates and stuff, that'll fluctuate a little bit. And it will also change next year. As is the case with most digital nomad visas, this amount is based on what, like, basically the average income of the country is, and you have to make a certain threshold more than that. With South Korea, it's double. You have to make double what the average income is, and so that will change. That changes annually. So for 2024, it's the equivalent of about $64,000. Chances are that will go up next year, but something to consider. It is a hair less than the Japanese one, but really for me, once you start getting 60 grand and more, you're no longer, you're talking about, more than the average US income. And so it's obvious that South Korea, like other countries, are going after probably the higher educated, the higher earning digital nomads versus, ones that might just backpack. So that's something to keep in mind. The financial aspect is always one of the biggest thresholds for especially places like this. Second, to qualify for it, you have to have a clear criminal background check. They said they're not specific as to like if like automotive crimes count. I'm guessing if you're pulled over for speeding too many times, that's probably not an issue. I can't say specific if it's alcohol related. I don't know, but from the way I read it, it's more criminal based crimes and felony kind of things. But if you have a spotty driving record with alcohol-related things, that's something you might want to talk to a South Korea immigration attorney about. I always recommend trying to find an attorney that gives like a 30-minute free consultation. That's a question you could bring up. And, so before you get too far into the weeds of applying, they can let you know of, no, not going to work. Also, you'll need your own proof of health insurance. But that's, again, pretty standard for a lot of these applications. One of the good things is you are allowed to bring a spouse, and if you have children under the age of 18, then they can leech onto your digital nomad visa, and it doesn't change the value, the income that you have to make, which is good. A lot of times once you start adding dependents and spouses, the amount of money you have to increase, but this one doesn't, which is fantastic. Now, you do have to have documented proof of them actually being your children, but when you look online for how to begin the application process, they will tell you this information. With the background check, you do have to have a possible. I would recommend really just getting an FBI background check. That's as official as it gets. You'll probably have to wait a couple weeks for it, but it's the most thorough, it's the most complete, it has the most information, and I think it's probably the easiest way to go. If you do have to get the stuff apostled, the best option is to contact the South Korean embassy or consulate buildings that are nearest you and ask what paperwork requirements that they have, and they can point you in the direction of official apostle, people that can translate and do all that stuff for you. And it's, if the consulates or embassies recommend it, listen to them. You don't want to have to delay all the paperwork because you want somewhere else. And okay, so that's kind of the basics for the application, what you have to do. Pretty straightforward. Really, the benefits for the South Korean digital nomad visa is it's good for 1 year, and you can reapply. So you can get up to 2 years. After 2 years, you can't reapply. You've got to leave or get a different kind of visa. But again, you have 2 years to figure that out. You have 2 years to maybe get a job there or something else going on. But 2 years is a good time to figure out if you want to stay or if it's time to move someplace else. And maybe you've got your heart set on that Japanese digital nomad visa, but you don't like that it's 6 months only, and so you decide, let's go to South Korea for a year or two, and then maybe that gives Japan 2 years to, potentially extend their visa. I hope they do, but we'll see. So that's really the basics of the South Korean digital nomad visa. The 2 years will not lead you to residency or citizenship. It's not that kind of visa. If you want to gain citizenship, you're going to have to go a different route. But in general, for this area of the world, it is a solid option. You do have to be, a higher income level earner, but you have up to 2 years. And you can reapply for that second year as long as you still qualify. Your income still has to be above the 60, actually it'll be probably more the second year that you apply. But I think I like this digital nomad visa. Personally, I like it when you have a couple more years option, but 2 years is pretty good with this, and it gives you that window to decide if you want to keep living there, and then you can go after different visa options. But that is just the basic lowdown of the South Korea digital nomad visa. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, if there's things you don't like about it, if there's things you do, if there's a particular country that you'd like me to focus on next for next week's digital nomad visa just overview. I'm going to try to get out of Asia for the next thing. And we'll just focus in on a different country. But anyways, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I'll catch you guys later.